In this next part of Module 16, we're going to shift our focus from teams into visual management systems. And that subtitle, The One-Eyed Man on a Galloping Horse, that is my standard of excellence for a visual management system. More on that in a little bit. In this part of the module, we're going to teach the underlying principles of workplace measurement. We're going to talk about creating effective workplace communication systems. We're going to involve, excite, and engage people for workplace improvement. We're going to explain the purpose of visual management. We're going to evaluate the effectiveness of goals and metrics, and we're going to discuss key points in measuring for success. So here's our sequence. Again, purpose of measurement in the workplace, goals and metrics, characteristics of good visual management systems, key point of key personal performance indicators, and tiered visual management. Now, I understand not everybody uses KPI as a term. There's KSAs and there's OCRs and there's all kinds of other things. We're going to just consider all of those things as a key performance indicator and try to make them as people-oriented, people-friendly as we possibly can throughout this discussion. So to start off with the purpose of a measurement system, we want to measure to manage performance and drive improvement, of course. Where do we do that? Remember the lean house from earlier modules. Each one of these, we want to be able to continue to enhance. We want to enhance the dynamic stability. We want to enhance the team member satisfaction. We want to enhance our ability to deliver just in time. We want to enhance our Jidoka management system that requires us to stop and fix things. And we want to drive customer satisfaction. So the key areas that we're going to measure are people, safety, quality, delivery, cost, and impact. When I talk about impact, I'm talking specifically about the environmental impact that we're having on our planet and on our community. Not too many people are measuring that, particularly at the process level. A lot of organizations are saying they're greener now and they've got some green metrics, but if we're going to make it a habit, we've got to embed them all the way through our organization. When we're defining these, we want to talk about the result that we want to achieve, the result metrics, and we want to talk about process metrics, which are the indicators that the process is working and on track to achieve that result. So they're both a little bit different. The result is what we want to achieve over time. The process metrics tell us whether the process is working properly or not. Okay, so here's a couple of examples. The result metric, I want to lose 30 pounds. Okay, so my body weight at the end of the week. I want to lose a bunch of weight. Process metric is going to be daily calorie intake. Okay, if I want to lose a bunch of weight, I can get on the scale all day long, every day, and it doesn't do anything. So the process of losing weight, I need to think about calories in and calories out. Maybe we're measuring on-time delivery. So we might measure daily productivity or machine downtime, or we might measure absenteeism as it relates to our ability to deliver goods on time. Absenteeism in itself may be a result metric that we can then check job satisfaction and employee engagement to predict whether or not people are going to leave or just not come to work or call in sick or all those different things. So the result is what we want to accomplish, and the process is how we achieve that goal or how that we achieve that result. And so how do we measure that? So let's pay attention to that. Sometimes you got to be a little creative about it. Another reason we measure is to quickly communicate the standards and the status. Those are the two most important things that people need to be aware of. And here's a quote pulled straight out of the Role of the Supervisor from Toyota back in I got this one in the 90s. It's essential that all personnel at a worksite, beginning with supervisors and including all their subordinates, be fully aware of the current shop situation. So this awareness is absolutely critical. The awareness is critical because it's a huge player in satisfaction on the job. The more people know about what's going on at work, the higher levels they report of their satisfaction. So our visual management system needs to make them aware of what's going on at work and their performance and how they fit into all of this work. And that's going to have a direct reflect on their level of satisfaction. What do they need to be aware of? What's expected of them? We don't do a really good job of expressing our expectations. So leaders have ways to do this. We set the rules, we get standardized work, we define the work content. What we don't do a very good job of is listening to the expectations of us so that we can then work to satisfy those as well. And then we got to know the status. So that gives us feedback or the knowledge of results. And I want the work itself to be the key thing that provides that feedback, not necessarily a leader coming by and saying, hey, you did that one right. You did that one right. You did, oh, wait, that one was wrong. That's not the kind of feedback I want. When we talk about regular coaching and assessment, yeah, we're going to help people see where they are, but the coaching piece is all designed for personal development, not just to push feedback on people. I say in a coaching conversation, and we'll talk about this in a later module, in a coaching conversation, the coach needs to talk about 10% of the time. And all 10% of those times needs to be asking the right questions, to have that person reflect on their own performance, understand how they fit and do their own assessment, and then set their own goals for where they want to go from that. If a leader just comes in and said, hey, you messed up this, you messed up that, you did great on that, keep doing that, it doesn't matter. What do people internalize? And if they got a great relationship with the leader can do some of that. But it's our job as leaders to ask those questions to draw that out of our people. The third thing we measure for is to enhance learning in the workplace. Yes, we want our visual management system to make our workplace a learning organization. And people learn in a very predictable manner. So initially, we have this remember, understand, and apply. These are the basic levels of learning, and they're very linear. When we get to the higher levels of learning, evaluate, analyze, and create, it's very nonlinear. It's just kind of a swirling mass, okay? When we bring on a new employee, we take them through those first three levels. We give them the safety briefing. We teach them enough and ask them enough questions so that they can go out and perform their job, the job that we hired them for, without getting hurt or to some degree of effectiveness. And then we pretty much leave them alone. So we train people to the application level. And if we want to succeed in the future, we've got to start training people through these higher levels of learning. And these levels of learning are called problem solving levels of learning. So when we analyze something, we break it into smaller chunks. We got to teach people how to do that. We have to understand how each one of those chunks contributes. And then we create something new, either by taking out pieces or chunks that don't really add value, or rearranging the sequence of those, or throwing all of them out and putting something new in place. But that doesn't really matter if we can't evaluate whether it's effective or not, or whether it's better or not. And so these three work together constantly to drive continuous improvement. So we got to teach people this stuff. Learning is also important because we want people to remember things. And this slide shows that as we're exposed to new things, this is how much we remember. Okay, so if you just hear it, so if you're not looking at anything, you're just listening to your computer now and you're hearing me speak, you're probably going to remember about 10% of this stuff after a month. If you hear it and see it, no, I'm sorry, if you just see it, if you turn off the sound and you just see the slide, excuse me, then that pushes you up to a whopping 15%, which is still not enough to do anything. When you see and hear it, that pushes it up to 20, which doesn't seem very effective still. When I allow you to discuss this, which is the importance of those discussion boards and sharing with each other and going back and forth, that pushes your remembering up to about 40%. But then when I involve you in an activity that has you do something and achieve something, you're typically going to remember about 80%. But where the real value comes in is if you've done something and you've learned from that, when you have to teach somebody else, then you're going to remember for the long term. So in any of your learning journeys, always end up teaching somebody else or bringing somebody else along to teach. What I want from your final project presentation is that approach. I want you to be able to teach what you've learned so that somebody else can understand what you're doing. Next up, we'll talk about measuring for success. And that's a series of presentations I've been making on metrics and things. We're going to get started in it, and then we'll wrap it up in 17.